Heroin addiction is a growing concern across the United States. A report released last month by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention showed that heroin use is rising across the country in most age groups and all income levels. The Obama administration announced a new program earlier this month that aims to address heroin use and the trafficking of the drug. Our new NYF correspondent Stan Wilson looked into how heroin abuse is affecting New Mexicans. He sat down recently with two local advocates to talk about how opiate addiction has impacted their lives and what steps can be taken to provide more intervention and treatment options for people who are addicted to heroin or prescription painkillers. This is the first in a two-part series on heroin and opiate addiction here in New Mexico.
We're joined today by Dr. Harris Silver, a retired surgeon and drug policy analyst, and Damien Rubalcaba, a licensed clinical social worker. Welcome, gentlemen. Let me start off with you, Damien. You are a recovering heroin addict yourself.
Yes.
What led you to try heroin for the first time?
I think it was a confluence of things. The most prominent one, I think, was anxiety, the social anxiety I had ever since I was a kid. You know, looking back, of course, I now see it as anxiety. In the time, I didn't know quite what it was. Some depressive symptoms, probably. I really struggled once I hit middle school and kind of more that social arena with, you know, teenagers and that sort of thing. It was really, really tough for me, and I started just kind of noticing this, you know, pervasive feeling of not fitting in, not feeling quite right, something different about me. And so once I hit high school, recreational kind of drug use is what kind of got me into the whole, you know, context of drugs, I would say. And then one day after high school, my best friend offered me something that he said was opium, and it turned out to be heroin, and there began the sordid career of my heroin addiction.
How did it make you feel?
You know, I describe it like a spiritual experience. I felt like I found something I had been looking for my entire life and did not know I had been looking for it. I actually kind of describe it like somebody might describe an encounter with God. It was a very deep and profound experience, a sense of comfort.
It seems kind of extraordinary that you began using it was it college or age?
Yeah, it was in my early 20s when I started heroin, yes.
And how did it affect your life?
Well, I'll tell you this much. I was attending UNM, and I started my heroin use there, and going to college and using heroin doesn't fit very well, so I quickly dropped out of college. You know, it was a slow process, but after a while you start running out of money.
And what'd you do to feed your habit?
Anything I could do. Criminal activity, stealing things, ended up counterfeiting money, doing a whole lot of very questionable things. Yeah.
And what made you seek help at some point?
You know, some people describe the beginning of the recovery as this big spiritual experience. Mine wasn't so much that. I got really tired and disgusted of the life I was living. I had wanted to quit heroin, honestly, for the last 2 or 3 years of my addiction, but didn't know how. Thought it was impossible.
Dr. Silver, what is common about Damien's story from what you've experienced over the years as an expert in this field?
Well, it's the way it makes people feel, and it's people who have either low self-esteem or have had a traumatic childhood or don't feel like they quite fit in, and this medication or drug changes all that, and it makes them feel okay, makes them feel fit in, and makes them have a euphoria that is like no other feeling they've ever experienced.
Can you relate to it yourself
I do.
on a personal level?
I've told you that I am in recovery myself. I was addicted to prescription drugs. I got addicted through having chronic pain, and I was on prescription painkillers for 2 years before I finally went to treatment. I was in my residency training for head and neck surgery.
Looking at the opioid epidemic today across the country, and particularly in New Mexico, last year the state saw a 20% increase in opioid-related deaths, overdose deaths. Were you surprised at those figures?
Absolutely. We had a 16% drop from 2011 to 2013, and this 20% jump brought us up to it tied the highest level of overdose deaths we've ever had. But if you start to dissect the overdose numbers, we had a jump in methamphetamine overdose and cocaine overdose, which hadn't been happening. We also had a jump in heroin overdose, which hadn't happened. And we had been having a nice decline in prescription drug overdose, and that jumped up remarkably.
What's contributing to the problem?
Oh boy, there's so many, it's multifactorial. And one of the things that happened in 2014 is 200,000 people got insurance. So they got access to prescription drugs. And I think that may have something to do with it.
What's your take on this significant increase?
I think that what Harris is saying is right on. So many different things. Life in America for young people these days, I think, is just very different than it has been for a long time. And like he said, in researching this, I think trauma is one of the leading issues for all of this. Trauma, there's just so many different factors.
Yeah, I find it quite extraordinary in terms of your story that you came from a fairly well-educated family, stable home, and on the verge of a higher education degree yourself. But your life turned around. So what inspired you to move into the recovery process and become an advocate yourself?
You know, I don't know if there was much of an inspiration to get me into recovery, more a sense of desperation, if anything. What got me into this kind of work, to be totally honest with you, I was done with drugs and stuff. I didn't want to have anything to do with it professionally or personally.
What were you facing in terms of that change that occurred in your life?
You mean legally?
Yes.
So the worst of it was I was looking at 25 years in federal prison for one of my charges, various other amounts of time, often on and off probation at the different levels, a lot of different things.
And what was that significant factor that inspired you to want to help others, particularly teens?
To be totally honest with you, it just kind of sucked me in. I don't know how else to say it. I got a little experience working with young people, and I loved it, and I felt like I was doing something that I knew how to do. So it just kind of stuck, and now here I am.
Dr. Harris, in working with young people, and that's where a lot of the beginning of heroin and opioid-related abuse occurs.
Nowadays.
Yes. Well, what is behind that, and what are the solutions out there?
So what's happening is people are starting with prescription painkillers. And I mean, they have these farm parties where they fill bowls with drugs. And eventually, young people have a much harder time accessing prescription drugs. So they go to heroin. It's about 1/4 of the price for the same high. And heroin, unfortunately, is a lot worse as far as addictive than prescription painkillers. Now you're addicted to a rush, you're addicted to a lifestyle, and it's much harder to treat. So a couple of answers are, it's a very difficult treatment to get somebody to be abstinent. So one of the treatments is what's called opioid replacement therapy with either methadone or a drug called Suboxone, which has been remarkably helpful in getting people off of heroin into a lifestyle where they can function somewhat normally.
You've worked on the policy level at the state, local, and national level. How would you describe the level of coordination among the agencies and organizations that are dealing with this problem, given the fact that it's worse in so many ways?
I would describe it relatively poor. I think the problem, I can't point my finger at anybody. There's the response from government at local levels, state levels, and federal levels is inadequate at this point for what we have as a true epidemic. I feel like if this was a hantavirus or some infectious organism, we would get a much stronger response. But what underlies the poor response is stigma and discrimination.
What do you mean by discrimination and stigma?
Well, a lot of people don't think that addiction or drug addiction or substance use disorder is an actual disease, and it is a disease, and it's been proven many different ways that it's a disease. And there's a common perception these people are weak, and they drain our medical system, and they're criminals. And let me talk about this criminal. Just people have markedly distorted thinking and impaired judgment. I mean, when I go back to myself, I wrote a prescription. I forged a prescription. I would have never done that normally.
In terms of saving lives here, there's a big issue in the community in terms of the use of Naloxone or Narcan. And in the state, there was a significant reversal of overdose deaths by using this drug. Do you think it's a good policy in terms of use and administering this?
I'll put it this way. If you're not for harm reduction, then you're for people dying. We absolutely have to have harm reduction. We have to have Narcan. We have to have replacement therapy. Without that, we're making this a moral issue. So if people say that they are advocates of people in addiction and do not support this, to me that's a huge disparity. I don't understand it.
You are the clinical worker at the newly formed Serenity Mesa Recovery Center.
Yes.
What is the most significant development you've seen in terms of treating young people, and what in terms of the solutions?
What we do over there is just this ultimately comprehensive approach. We do evidence-based practices, which is unbelievably important. But not only do we do this great kind of clinical work, but we do all these other kind of more holistic activities where we help re-assimilate these young people back into society. Harris mentioned the lifestyle. It's the lifestyle that carries over. Quitting the drugs is honestly one of the easier parts. It's becoming this productive member of society that is the real difficulty. So at Serenity Mesa, we take them and we bring them into what really is a family and kind of re-educate and just re-normalize them and get them ready for what life is actually like out in society.
Dr. Harris, briefly, what is the most significant public policy change that you think will make a difference in changing the death rate that we've seen?
I think getting Narcan everywhere possible, getting Narcan in the hands of our law enforcement, getting Narcan, and it's not a silver bullet like we've talked about, but getting Narcan prescribed by doctors when they're prescribing prescription opioids, and getting Narcan in the hands of people when they leave getting detoxed. When they leave incarceration, they're at 140 times risk of death for the first 2 weeks when they leave incarceration.
Gentlemen, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.